President Cyril Ramaphosa says the new tariffs imposed by the United States on South Africa undermine the spirit of collaboration and fair trade between the two countries. The taxes include a 30% increase on South African goods and a 25% levy on automotive imports. It comes as Pretoria hopes to strengthen economic ties with Washington, and he views the US as a key trading partner, as has always been the case. Let's take a listen.
Whilst South Africa remains committed to a mutually beneficial trade relationship with the United States, unilaterally imposed and punitive tariffs are a concern and serve as a barrier to trade and shared prosperity. The tariffs affirm the urgency to negotiate a new bilateral and mutually beneficial trade agreement with the US as an essential step to secure long-term trade certainty.
All right, let's get into this conversation now and get more reaction on the tariffs and the likely impact, particularly on the country's agricultural sector. To talk to me now is Johann Kotzé, AgriSA CEO. Johann, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's start with the agricultural exports, South African agricultural exports to the United States. The understanding is that they are likely to be much pricier now. What kind of impact is that going to result in?
Yeah, so the impact is normally going to be that we're not going to be that more competitive in the American market. So the first thing is we went back and had a look at which commodities are heavily affected by that. And if I can just name the top four, it would be citrus, grapes, tree nuts, and then to a certain extent vegetables. So I think we need to understand there's going to be an impact. So it's a disruption in the market, but I think the main thing is the competitiveness in America itself, to compete in the American market.
So the net effect of this then, Johann, are you saying that in all likelihood, South African products or agricultural produce may possibly be dumped by the US and they will likely look at other markets because you will be more expensive?
Well, the take is, I hope they're not going to dump us, but if they buy less, we won't be able to export that much. So either you let your price go down, which would be detrimental for South Africa, but that's normally the go. It's a price war. So if I go into the American market, I compete against Brasilia, Argentina, Peru. So the close by, I would say, producers of the same produce as what we put into the market. So what could happen is if we lower our price, we could sell more. And if the tariff kicks in, it's just a cost exercise for us as South Africans. But for us, the loss is going to be a revenue loss. Yeah. So for the agricultural, I would say, community in South Africa, that's what we envisage that's going to happen.
Yeah. What about AGOA? Can we still depend on that?
Yeah, I think one thing that I've learned, we've been in America last week, is firstly, it's not just us. It's not just happening to South Africa. It's happening to all the other traders with America. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing is there's a spotlight in South Africa because we are important. And although we're small, we still have a major role to play, specifically to the African market for America. So I think what we need to do is we need to kind of reset our way of doing business, especially exporting our produce. So what happened is not just with us, it's with the rest of the world also. So my take is, as agriculture, it is what it is. So we got cards dealt to us and we have the cards in our hands now. Still, we don't know how this is going to be imposed. So we know about the 30% and the 25%, but we still need to have confirmation on which produce. It looks like it's going to be all of it, but it's still unknown. That's the way the Trump administration normally does it. They tweet it out, and then you need to kind of live with it and see how it's going to play out. So I think one thing that we need to understand is it is a tough call. However, it's not just for us. It's a reset in the trade, the global trade community. Yeah. And how do you find yourself in this I would say, disordered kind of concept that we're not used to. And I think that's the challenge for us as South Africa.
I'm going to ask you a little later about that visit to the US as to who you spoke to and what you made of the reception. But let's talk about the 25%. That's the levy. The way I understand it, there were no import duties that were levied on about 40% of South Africa's agricultural exports. Are you able to list those? And with the 25% now that seems to be coming in, how are you going to be impacted there?
If it was 40%, it was a crisis. It's not. It's about 4% of our total exports, which is still a big play. I think what we need to do is to say the disruption is big for us as agriculture. And remember, we're fresh. The moment you disrupt fresh, I can't withhold it back. I need to push it into a market. But that's not the biggest play for us. For us, the biggest play is job losses, loss in revenue, and then new markets. So if we define then the agricultural space and you have a look at what the agricultural space or what's the greatest impact, it is on citrus, revenue-wise. However, if you go and you have a look on the impact on what is the total percentage exported through the commodities, the nuts guys are battling because that's 22% of their total exports go to America.
Yeah.
So I think we need to, and that's what we did. We took an analytical view on the impact of what is happening here. Just the other interesting thing is if you have a look at job losses, a potential job loss because of revenue loss, the Western Cape is going to battle the most. That's more or less where you go. So I think for us, we have the cards in our hands. What needs to happen next? And if I may, I think there is a way to mitigate. And I think that the first way to mitigate is to go back to your trade negotiations with America. And if I can, out of the week we had in America, is they keen to negotiate a trade deal with South Africa.
Yeah.
So we knew that the AGOA deal is going to be either reset or just scrapped. Now the take is now, what should this new reset look like?
Yeah.
So the first prize is we need to go back as South Africa and literally go and renegotiate our trade. And I think our Minister of Trade could do a good job in doing it. I think there's a bit of geopolitical issues between us and the US.
Yeah.
But even though they're looking for a trade relationship with us, South Africa, so we need to go back. If that is not negotiable, and we're still going to have the 30% tariff, we need to go and have a look at market diversification. And remember, the whole world is shaken now, the whole world of trade. So somewhere a market's going to open up for us. So you need to go back to the existing markets, which we have. We are well diversified, but we need to strengthen our old relationships and see if you can put another 2 or 3% back into that market. And, need to go and open up new markets. So it is tough what is happening now.
Yeah.
But it's also a wake-up call to say, but is there not a new way to trade? And what is the new trade negotiation in the world's going to look like? And are we fit for this? And I think South Africa has the ability to re-strengthen itself and to reposition itself and to renegotiate with America a relationship.
Let me put this final question to you, because your language is quite optimistic, which I suppose you should be as someone who runs a particular economic sector of this economy. Let's talk about that visit to the United States. And you keep making reference to this is an economic reset. Someone used the expression, could this be economic vandalism around the world over? But perhaps that's too strong a word. Talk to us about that visit to the US and what the reception was like, given what you have just said, that our Minister of Trade has to go now and see what trade-offs can be managed to lessen the impact.
So we went on a fact-finding mission. So there was no delegation being authorized by any grouping other than the ones we represented. And I think what we found going there is you have a political side of what is happening, and there is some tension between South Africa and America. But then you have this trade need between the two countries. And I never ever walked into a negative concept that there could not be trade between America and South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think the good news for us out of what we saw is they want to have a relationship with us, even though we differ. And some of the political stuff, we say to them, it is what it is. But what do we do as business to continue with trade? Because it plays a major role in South Africa itself and also in America.
Yeah.
So I think you say we're positive. Yeah, we are. We're farmers and we're always positive, full of hope. And I think the hope was given to us by the need for them to do a trade deal. The Trump administration utilizes politics to create a deal. He's a businessman and he wants to have a trade-off, a business deal. And I think what we came back with is the faith that we can do it. We have the produce to export. We have a government who will have the wisdom to overcome this hurdle again.
Yeah.
Did we do wrong in the past politically? Yes, we did. Or maybe not, but according to them, we did. So it be. We do have a product that they want, and South Africa is on their map and on their radar for a reason, because we are a good trade partner.
Johann, I'm completely out of time. Who did you meet? Quickly.
Well, we met with all the parties and stakeholders that we could. So White House, the US administration, politicians on both sides, Republicans, Democrats. And we also met with companies being American companies, but with a great stake in South Africa. And I don't know if you know, there's over 600 countries in South Africa which are American. So there's a big play other than just trade. And that's why we're so positive, because we saw the stakeholding between the two countries. And you can't just let go of that. Even though you're bullish with the tariff, it's actually just a plea to say, can we negotiate? And I think we are going to do it. And I think we will be successful in negotiating new deals, new transactions with the Trump administration.
Very interesting conversation indeed. Very interesting. Johann Kotzé, thank you very much. And I just can't get over your positivity here and just the clarity that you're bringing, that they are using politics in order to leverage on business. That's very, very interesting indeed. AgriSA CEO Johann Kotzé.